Hi. So I recently did a video on the Cree lights from Cess Garage that I hung in my garage. If you haven't watched that, please watch that. I'll link to it in the description here. But these are the Cree LS fixtures. You can see I've got an 8 and a 4, an 8 and a 4. And I'm kind of in the middle of installing these right now, but there will be a video that comes up in the middle of this. So one of the things that I ran into is the lights took about 2 months to get here from when I ordered them, and that's because Obsessed Garage isn't stocking them yet. They're a special order item. They come directly from Cree. I ordered 5 8-foot lights, 3 4-foot lights, and then I also ordered Picos, which are the switches, the little wall switches. I ordered 4 of those, and I ordered 2 Vive, which are the POW pack that actually powers the dimmer on the light. It dims or raises the light, and it connects to the wireless switches. So those POW packs are on back order, and I'm probably not going to have them until August, and it's May. So it's going to be a minute before they come in at least. So I found these online, and these came from a company called LED Supply, and they were pretty inexpensive. So if they work well, I might actually cancel my POW packs. I'm not sure. So these are 0 to 10 volt dimmers, and they're supposed to work with Wi-Fi, meaning there's an app that you install on your phone and you can control them with that. And my thought is that, you know, I was kind of limiting myself to 2 POW packs because I have positions for 2 switches. But if I can make these work, then I could theoretically do 4 of them, and I can control all the lights and also the cost. I mean, a POW pack, I want to say the POW packs are like $200 a piece, something like that, and these are like 30 or 40 bucks a piece, so they're significantly less expensive. So when I open this up, it's a TLBT1-010, and when I open it up, this is what is inside. So this is a Kobe Electric SK-BT1-DD. Like I said, it came from LED Supply. I'll put a link in the description. And basically what this has is 6 wires, just like the POW pack does. So I've got AC in, which is black and white. So that's my power in from my line. I've got AC out, which is red and red-white, these 2 here. And then I've got these 2, the gray and the purple, which are my dimmer wires out. So what's cool about the way that I installed my lights is I actually ran a 14-2, like an AC wire to each one, and I ran a 0 to 10 volt wire to each one, and I brought them all back to a junction box that's up inside my attic access. So theoretically, all 4 of them are home runs back to here, and I can power them all from there. And I can make adjustments from there. So if I wanted to go to 4 of these instead of 2 of these or something like that later on, I gave myself the option to do that. So we're going to get this installed. We'll see how it works, and we'll go from there. All right, so check it out. Here we've got our square junction box. We've got our in and our 2 lights, 1 and 2. So let's get these low voltage wires out of the way. So our feed comes in, and it goes into the black and the white wires that feed this unit, right? So the black here, the white here, and they both feed the unit with the AC in. Then on the output side of this, we've got a red and white. So we've got our red and our red and white right there, which are the load side, and those are feeding the actual lights. So these go out to the lights. And then these are the low voltage output. So this has a purple and a gray, which are kind of the universal colors. And those are feeding through this, the low voltage switching 0 to 10 volt dimmers that are in the actual light housings themselves. So gray to gray, purple to purple on the actual lights. And then as we can see, put put our cover on our box. Everything is nice and tidy. We could actually add a second dimmer here, so we could run the other light off of another dimmer if we want to. And then what I'm probably going to do up here is just run another one of these boxes, the same type of box, and just post it right here. And then just do, these will be lights 1 and 2. These will be lights 3 and 4 over here, just so this box doesn't get too full, too cramped, too crowded. And the feed, I'll come out of the side of this box and over into that one with. So that way, if later on I want to add a second dimmer, if I want to have, you know, more lights dimmed, I can do that. All right, so let's talk about the operation. So the way that I have these wired, there is a switch in the wall, and that switch in the wall sends power to my lights, or historically sent power to my lights. I have the Wi-Fi controller getting power from the switch, and then I have the Wi-Fi controller giving power out to the lights and also providing dimming for the lights. I have 4 rows of lights, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see 3 and 4 here on the camera. I have 2 zones set up. So the first 2 rows are one zone, the last 2 rows are a second zone. I can split those up however I want to because I did home runs back to the junction box from each individual light row. So first off, when you walk in the garage and you turn the lights on using the switch, and that's kind of where you run into problems, is like there's an app, right? So I can use the app to turn the lights on and off all I want to. But it's clunky. Every single time you walk in the room, you want to hit a switch, you don't want to hit an app. So really you're using the app to make minor adjustments. You're using the switch to turn the lights on and off. So when I turn off the switch, they shut off immediately. When I turn on the switch, they take 2 seconds to power on. 1, 2. Well, it's about 1.5 seconds before they power on. And that's because the dimmers are powering up. They're seeing what the last state they were in was, and then they are setting themselves to that state. So to control it from an app, the app is actually not too bad. It's this app called Smart Life. And this is what my screen looks like when I first open it. There's like a home screen. Now you can set something called scenes, and I have 4 scenes. I have a small door, a big door, a bright, and a dim. So I can manually control each of the lights. I called them big door and small door for my 2 zones. So small door would be my single car garage that you're kind of looking at where the Honda's parked. The big door would be my double car garage on this side where we're standing. If I press the power button for small door, you'll see that it opens up the screen. There's a power button at the bottom. Shuts off, it turns on, it shuts off, it turns on. It's very fast. There's dimming. So now we're down at 13%, we're down at 6%, we're up at 100%, 75, 100. And you can see those changes happen live and how it affects the actual lights in the background. And the camera's compensating for it, so it is a little bit more drastic than it looks on camera. Now you can also have these scenes, and I like using these. So I have 4 of them that I've created. I have bright, dim, big door, small door. So if I do dim, it turns all of my lights to 30%. So there's all of my lights now at 30%. So it makes sure that both of the lights are on. The brightness it's 309. It's out of 1,000, so 30.9 and 30.7. It's a little hard on the slider to get it exact. I also have a scene called bright, which turns everything to 1,000 or 100%. I have a scene called big door, which turns off the 2 on that side and turns these at 100%. And I have one called small door, which turns off the ones on this side and turns those on 100%. I can obviously make whatever I want to. It's really easy to do that. You just click on this little plus and you say create a scene. And then you say that you want to launch a tap to run. So this would be like something that you tap, but you can also set scheduled scenes or location change scenes or status change scenes or whatever. And this application works with other types of devices besides lighting control, which is why some of these things don't necessarily make a lot of sense. But I can make tap to run, and I could say if I tap this, then we're going to set the big door to brightness 70%. Save. So we're going to turn the light on and set it to 70%. And that's one of those things that I found every time you're setting up a scene, you want it to have light on or light off, whatever the state is, and the brightness. Because if your previous scene was that the lights were off and you set the brightness to a new number, then it's not going to, it'll set the brightness, but it won't actually turn the light on, if that makes sense. Again, it's a slider, so it's not easy to get exactly there. 700. Next. Okay, so we've got big door at 700, small door at 700. We're going to hit save. And we can name this whatever we want it to be. But there we go. I just clicked on it and it activated. Sorry, I have to go to scene, find the scene itself. So these are the 4 that I've created. And I can name this whatever I want it to be. We'll just call this 70%. Okay, save. And now we see that I have 5 scenes. So if we look at my home, I have 70%, I have small door, I have big door, I have bright, and I have dim. And we can kind of arrange these however we want to. So if I move this scene down, done. When I go back to my home screen, what we'll see is that these rearranged. So I think that it works pretty well. I think that it's good for a situation like me. Well, it's good for a situation maybe if you're the only person who uses the garage or you're the only person who uses the room. You have complete app control. You can turn your lights on and off from the app. The switch does work. Basically, if I turn the switch off and I turn it back on, when I turn it back on, it's going to turn all of the lights on and back to the brightness that they were last set to, so 70% in this case. In order for me to go brighter or dimmer, I have to pull out the phone, I have to click on bright, or I have to click on dim, or I have to adjust the lights to whatever I want them to be. But it works, and it works really well. When I first power them on, it takes a second for the phone to be able to connect to them, so the phone can't see them, and that's because I'm shutting them off physically with the switch. If I was using the app to turn the lights physically on and off, then it wouldn't be that way. And I can individually shut off the lights here as well, of course. And you can have as many of these as you want to, so I could have 4 of them and have each individual strand be controlled separately and set up different scenes or do whatever I want to do. I found this to be a good setup because I work in halves of the garage. So I'm either on the far side and I'm working on whatever's parked down there and I'm maybe polishing or cleaning or doing an interior or whatever, or I work on the large side over here and I'm working on whatever is kind of parked in the middle of this large side. I don't really work in the entire garage on most days unless I'm doing something like painting or other like garage maintenance. I do like having the ability to turn those on and these off when I'm working on my workbench because it creates this situation where like my overhead lights in my actual workbench, the under cabinet lighting, lights up really well, and I don't have to worry about kind of this giant overhead brightness that it can be fatiguing over time. So anyway, we'll play around with this a little bit more. Once the Lutron stuff arrives, then I'll compare the two and show you guys what that's like. Thank you. Have a great day.